Hello and welcome to report number 2 of my BMW 4 Series long-term video diary. And you might have noticed that I'm not in my 4 Series long-termer actually today. I'm driving a different car, but it's not just any different car, and you shouldn't be disappointed if you wanted BMW 4 Series content, because this is the ultimate 4 Series. In the name of consumer journalism, I've got my hands on the brand new 2021 BMW M4 competition to compare it and see what it's like against my 4 Series long term. But I know it sounds like a complete mismatch, and it is, because my 4 Series costs around £50,000. This particular car costs £88,000, and that's because it is essentially the ultimate 4 Series. It's the 4 Series you'd buy if you had endless money and you wanted the finest that BMW medium-sized coupes can offer. This is it. And while I'm not going to do a big detailed review of the new M4 in this video, mainly because we've already done one on the Car Magazine channel, we've got it up against a Porsche 911 Carrera, so I definitely recommend you taking a look at that. What I'm just going to talk about here, albeit quite briefly, are some of the finer points that you wouldn't necessarily think of or see in other reviews of this car, because they're all going to talk about the performance, and rightfully so. It's absolutely phenomenal, trust me. This is quick. I mean, really, really quick. Yeah, it's a good job we got a track. But I'm going to look at it from a point of view of, well, I've been running a 4 Series for a couple of months now, and how does the ultimate M4 compare? If you see what I mean. Now, you'll have to forgive the fact that the B-roll for this is shot on what is clearly a different day. We're not on track like we are in the shots you're seeing now. We're actually just driving along a road through Hampshire. But obviously the looks, they're quite a big part of this car, and there's been a fair amount of controversy over the way it looks, which is the same with the regular 4 Series, but even more so with this, because it's just ramped it up to 10. And I kind of feel like I had to do that, because the 4 Series standard car was already quite controversial, and to make it look noticeably different, they just had to really ramp it up to 11. And I'm going to say it, I quite like it, because we see so many cars now that just look the same as one another. They all look like they come from the same kind of design studio. This M4 4 Series, it doesn't look anything like anything else. It really catches your attention, and if you don't like the looks, then fair enough, but no one can say that it isn't individual and that it doesn't stand out, because it certainly does. You will notice this thing, not least because of its Sao Paulo yellow paint job, which again, I'm a fan of. What I also like about this car is how they haven't just ripped up the 4 Series blueprint that they had, and that they've actually improved it, but they've kept the bits that I liked, which is how easy it is to drive, how nice the cabin is, how good quality it feels, all of those things which you want on a car that costs, as I said, nearly £90,000. I mean, I've still got a decent ride quality, I've still got the excellent driver assistance systems, I've still got the Hey BMW service, which works incredibly well for voice control. It's all the nice stuff with none of the compromises really, apart from lower fuel economy, which kind of goes without saying. But even then, on the way up to the video that we did on Friday with this car, the M4 and the 911, I got pretty much 30 mpg on the way up, which really isn't too bad at all. What I am going to do now is just pull over for a second and talk about this car's interior, because there are some things that I prefer over my 4 Series long-termer. So, M4 interior. As you can see, it is by and large, in layout and in form, very similar to my 420i long-termer, but
there are some key differences, as you always get with M cars. So we'll start with the center console, which is swathed in lovely bits of carbon fiber, and there's also some up there, some on the wheel as well. And actually that's a big improvement over the piano black that I've got, because as I explained in the first video on the 420i, it does get scratched really easily, and this seems to be a little bit more scratch resistant, if not quite fingerprint resistant, as you can see there. But anyway, it looks nice, it looks sporty, and it feels really solid as well. So that's a nice touch we've got there. There's the M car gear lever, which is a nice leather item with some cold metal behind it, which is nice to hold when you're on track or just in normal driving. And then the steering wheel, which we talk about the carbon, but it's also got these lovely big paddles behind the wheel, which are actually, well, they're not actually the best that I've ever seen on a performance car wheel, but they're pretty good overall because they're a good size, they feel reasonably solid, and although they're not as firm as you want them to be, they still do the job. Also, these are the M car buttons, which you get on, I think I'm right in saying, all full-fat BMW M cars now. And they give you your preset, so you can either have one which is set up entirely in comfort mode, apart from the engine, for example, which is in full sport mode, or you can have M2, where everything is set so that it turns off all the car's safety systems and puts everything in maximum attack mode, which is really useful for track driving. And actually, something else which is useful for track driving, and again, excuse the fingerprints, is the M mode button, because if you press that, what it does is it goes to a number of presets where you can turn off the driver assistance systems without having to basically do it all individually. So if you're on track, you don't want the autonomous emergency braking to cut in when you get close to a car in front, because that will be a pain and also be pretty dangerous. So that's a really useful button, and it's actually the same, I believe, as on the M5. Sitting in this car, the driving position is excellent. It's even better than it is on my 420i. And one of the main reasons behind this is, if we just swivel around, it's these Club Sport seats here, which are a £3,000 optional extra, but I reckon they're worth their weight in gold, because not only do they look great, but they're also heated, they are electrically adjustable, and they are incredibly comfortable. They also save around 9 kilograms, which isn't to be sniffed at, actually, when they still do all the things that a luxury car seat should do, but they just hold you in that much better. And you also sit far lower down in the car as well, or at least it feels far lower down, which makes a big difference over the 420i. The only slight issue with these seats is this big piece of carbon here, which I suppose is probably, if you wanted, or well, it's supposed to imitate where a 3-point harness would go. I'm not sure you can fit one, but that's probably what it's there for anyway, or there to imitate. But if you want a left foot brake, then you can see it gets right in the way of your left leg, and that's pretty niche. It's not going to be applicable to everyone, but if you're buying an M car, then that might be something that you want to do on track, for example. So yeah, cabin wise, it's got all the good bits of the 420i, and it does improve it in some key areas, such as the seat, these lovely Club Sport seats around here, the carbon as well, and just generally making it feel a little bit more special. However, I would like to see a thinner rimmed steering wheel, because this has got a really big fat rim, and if your hands aren't particularly big like mine, then yeah, it kind of takes a bit of the feel away as well, which isn't what you want.
I think the big question has to be, though, would I buy one if I had £88,000 to spend on a car like this? And the answer is no, I wouldn't, because I'd have the M3. It's the saloon version of this. It's just like a 3 Series turned into a performance car, and it's exactly the same by all accounts to drive. It's just as performance orientated, it's just as much fun, but I think it looks better, it's cooler, and it's more practical as well. So why would you not, really? That seems like quite a simplistic verdict, but yeah, after driving the car for a few hundred miles now, I think yes, it's really good. I like it. It's got a little bit of a raw, unpolished edge to it in some respects to the performance, but it still manages to behave like a nice, comfortable GT car almost when you want it to be. But you can have all this in a saloon car body, and for me, that just sounds better. But yeah, don't forget to check out the BMW M4 competition versus Porsche 911 Carrera video on the Car Magazine channel, because I reckon it's one of the best videos that we've ever done, so do take a look at that. Don't forget to subscribe and turn your notifications on for this, the Parker's channel, and while you're at it, why not do the same for the Car Magazine channel as well. Finally, keep an eye out for the next BMW 4 Series long-term video. I will be back in my car. I can't keep this forever, sadly, and I'll be talking about exactly how much it actually costs to run the 420i. Stay tuned.